The letter should never have reached him. That was the first thing that stunned Magnus Hale as he sat alone in his 11th floor corner office, staring at the small pink envelope placed neatly on top of the morning mail. The name scrawled in uneven handwriting, Santa at the corner office, felt like a gentle punch to his chest. He hadn't believed in miracles for years, not since the accident that took his wife and son. Yet here was a message addressed as though someone somehow understood that beneath his polished suit and quiet authority lived a man who no longer knew how to celebrate anything. The envelope trembled slightly in his hand as he opened it, unaware that this one letter would lead him back to life, faith, and a door he had stopped knocking on long ago. But if you believe in kindness, humanity, and second chances, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to KindWave. Your support truly helps stories like this reach more hearts. Magnus unfolded the paper inside, expecting a marketing request or some harmless holiday note. Instead, he found the handwriting of a child, crooked, hopeful, and heartbreakingly sincere. The little girl, who signed her name as Talia Rowan, explained that she was 9 years old and that she wasn't writing to the North Pole Santa, because that Santa never answered. She believed maybe a different kind of Santa might listen, someone who worked in a tall building with windows that looked like they touched the sky. She explained that her mother, Nora Rowan, worked downstairs as a temporary cleaner. She apologized for writing without permission, but she had seen the address on the building directory and thought that if Santa was busy making toys, maybe this Santa, the one sitting very high up, could help. Instead, she didn't ask for toys. She didn't ask for sweets or gadgets. She didn't even ask for clothes. Her letter asked for something much smaller, yet infinitely heavier. She wrote that her mother cried at night, when she thought Talia was asleep, because they were about to be evicted from their small room behind a quiet laundromat. She wrote that her mother's job had been cut to half hours, that she skipped meals so Talia could eat, and that she often whispered apologies into the air, as if apologizing to life itself. And then came the part that squeezed Magnus' heart until he had to set the paper down. Talia said she didn't want money. She wrote that she only wanted Santa to make her mother smile again, because her mother's smile used to be the sun in the kitchen. She ended by saying that she didn't know if Santa at the corner office was real, but she hoped he might be someone with enough magic to help a tired mother see the sky again. Magnus stared at the letter for a long time. His assistant, who usually knocked before entering, opened the door quietly but froze when she noticed the expression on his face. Magnus lifted his hand slightly, signaling he needed a moment. He wasn't ready to speak. For years, he had moved like a silent shadow in his own life, working, sleeping, and breathing only because the body demanded it. People at Hale Industries respected him, feared him even, but none of them knew the weight of grief that pressed against him every day. His son, Jasper, had been 9, the same age as the girl who wrote to him. And suddenly, in the soft loops and shaky lines of that child's handwriting, thousands of memories surged forward, unbidden and devastating. He folded the letter gently, more gently than he had handled anything in years, and placed it inside his jacket pocket. Something tugged at him, something quiet but persistent. He didn't know if he was doing it for the girl, her mother, or the part of himself he had buried, but he rose from his chair, took his coat, and walked out of the office with a determination that surprised even him. Downstairs, the lobby bustled with daytime energy. Employees rushed to meetings, deliveries arrived through heavy glass doors, sunlight flooded through large windows, bouncing off polished floors. Magnus had passed through this lobby countless times, but never had he looked at the people around him with the awareness that any one of them might be fighting an invisible battle like the one described in that letter. He asked at the security desk if Nora Rowan was working today. The guard checked his list and said she was assigned to clean the second-floor conference hallway. Magnus took the stairs instead of the elevator, as though the movement steadied his breathing. He found her near a supply closet, wiping fingerprints off a glass panel. She looked too young to be carrying so much weight in her eyes. She was thin, her shoulders tense beneath an oversized uniform that didn't quite fit. Her face, though beautiful in a quiet way, was marked with exhaustion. She didn't notice him at first, not until he spoke her name gently. She startled, almost dropping her cloth, and apologized instantly, explaining she would finish quickly and leave the space spotless. Her voice was soft and careful, like someone accustomed to shrinking into the background. Magnus didn't reveal who he was at that moment. He simply told her he had received something from her daughter. Nora froze. Her eyes widened, fear flashing across them, and then she whispered that she was sorry, truly sorry, that her daughter must have made a mistake. She explained that Talia was imaginative but shy, and she must have wandered someplace she shouldn't have. Her words spilled out rapidly, as if she expected punishment. She said she would talk to her daughter, tell her never to bother anyone again. Magnus listened, feeling another small fracture in his chest. This woman wasn't ashamed of poverty, she was ashamed that her daughter had reached out for help. He asked if they could talk for a few minutes. Her breath caught, but she nodded, wiping her hands nervously on her uniform. In a small quiet corner near the emergency exit window, where sunlight streamed gently across the hallway, Magnus told her that Talia's letter had found him, and that it had moved him. He didn't want to embarrass her or make her feel small. He simply wanted to understand what she needed. At first, Nora resisted saying anything. She insisted they were managing. She insisted others needed help more. She insisted her daughter misunderstood things. But her voice broke when he asked her the simplest question: when was the last time she let herself rest? She looked away, blinking hard, fighting tears that wanted to fall. And then, like a small dam giving way, her story came out: the lost job from a department store that closed abruptly, the months spent juggling small cleaning shifts, the rising rent, the hospital bills from her late mother, the constant fear of failing her daughter. She admitted she often cried at night because she didn't know how to breathe under the pressure anymore. Magnus listened without interrupting. The story wasn't unfamiliar. His wife had once struggled silently with postpartum difficulties, trying to maintain composure until her heart could no longer bear the weight. Listening to Nora felt like reliving the helplessness he once felt, but this time, he refused to stand by and do nothing. He asked her to take the rest of the day off. She immediately refused, terrified of losing her job. Magnus told her he would ensure she didn't. When she finally agreed, he walked her to the exit, his mind already forming decisions. He would not simply offer charity, he would offer dignity, structure, and a future. He believed that people didn't just need help, they needed the tools and space to rise. Later that afternoon, Magnus drove to the old laundromat where the Rowans lived. The neighborhood was quiet, sunlit, modest, worn down but honest. He knocked on the back door, the letter still in his pocket. Talia opened it, her eyes bright, her hair messy, flour dusting her cheek. She had been trying to bake cookies from an online recipe using ingredients she wasn't entirely sure about. When she saw Magnus, a stranger in a suit, she froze, then peeked nervously back inside. Nora appeared behind her, shocked, embarrassed, and apologetic, but Magnus raised a hand in reassurance. He said he came because a little girl had written to Santa at the corner office and he had decided Santa needed to reply in person. Something indescribable lit up in Talia's eyes, a mixture of disbelief and joy. She stepped aside and let him in. The small room was clean but sparse. A single table, 2 chairs, a tiny stove, and one narrow bed pushed against the wall. Sunlight filtered through thin curtains, illuminating drawings taped to the fridge and a pile of library books stacked neatly in a corner. Magnus took in every detail silently, feeling something shift inside him. For the first time in years, he felt warmth begin to thaw the ice in his chest. He spent the afternoon talking with them. He asked Talia about school, about her drawings, about her dreams. He learned she wanted to be a problem fixer, which she explained meant someone who made life better for others. He learned that Nora used to be studying nursing but dropped out after losing her mother. He saw how hard she tried to shield her daughter from worry, how fiercely she loved her. When he finally stood to leave, he told Nora he wanted to help in a way that honored her strength, not her struggles. He offered her a stable full-time position at Hale Industries as part of the executive administrative team, along with training courses to regain her footing. She stared at him as though he had just handed her the sky. Talia clapped her hands so loudly the sound echoed through the small room. The weeks that followed transformed them all. Magnus found reasons to visit, sometimes bringing books for Talia, sometimes checking on Nora's training progress. He didn't expect the changes in himself, the way he began smiling again, the way he slept with